This is the Hud-Son 2.5 stake pointer. It's called the 2.5 because that's the largest stake it'll sharpen. I always keep probably 3 sets of knives if I'm going to do a lot of stakes. Normally 2 sets is enough because you can pull one out, sharpen it, and you can sharpen these with your grinder or send them out to get sharpened. You want them razor sharp. If you sharpen a few thousand steaks, you're going to see these knives kind of peel right up. They don't get peeled over or bent over, they just get blunt and they won't cut. And you'll get a really rough point on your steak. It'll look terrible. That's your steak business. Landscapers, greenhouses, gardeners, Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, they'll buy them, I know. There's a lot of markets for the steaks. Just got to find that niche like everything else. 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inch, 2.5 inches. So all you got to do is loosen one bolt, pull it out, set these to the side and change them. So we're going to do 2-inch steaks today. We'll leave that in. With this one here, I take this bolt, whichever one is in there, I take the set screw out because it's going to vibrate. And that will vibrate down and it'll hit your steak. You could probably put a Loctite on there or something and just hold it, but it's lined up perfect with the center of that. This is centered right on that cone in there. There's 2 knives on that cone. They're razor sharp. To access that, just take this bolt off right here. It's an extended nut, like on the sawmill. Raise your cover up. You got full access to your head. So when you get your steak pointer, you're gonna get a gauge. It's black. It's got a hole in it. I zip tie mine right to here, or on one of the hooks I hang mine down here like this off of zip ties, just so I keep it with the machine. It's real simple to adjust or to set your blades when you put in your new ones or change them. You keep this flat against the back side of that. Then just bring your knife in slowly to it.
Be nice to have a hole.
And I'm doing a no-go right there. Did you see that? I put my hand inside of there. Only because I was trying to push that out. If you got to get inside that cone, you want to use a piece of wood. But any questions on how to set the knives? They're pretty simple. Just take out your 2 bolts. There's got 3 set screws on this arbor, and that's for a reason. And those are Loctited in. There's 1 on a key and there's 2 offset on the sides. So you're pinching that shaft on 3 points. It keeps that definitely centered on the motor. This is a 220 volt motor, so they got to have 220. Keep your wire heavy. When you ever run electric motor, your electric mills too, make sure you got the proper cord feeding it because you'll burn your motor up. It's going to run, but it's going to get hot and it's not going to perform to its performance, and you're going to have a shorter life on your motor. You want to use stranded copper for that lead cord. It's flexible and you get a lot better current through it. Okay, simple to close her back up. There's my nut. This cover's got a little tension on it, so it locks in. You push on it, goes over that bolt, put your nut back on. This has the nut on top of it, just like the extended nut on the mills. I just torque mine down by hand. I never use a wrench on it.
John, do you ever need to adjust your motor to center it back up?
Negative. Only if you take it off and move it.
Okay.
And if you do, the best way to reline that is to have a stake that's pre-sharpened, a good one, and then just put it in there and you can realign it really fast. So we're ready to start sharpening. A couple things I want to go over. Stakes like this, see that big knot? That can be dangerous because when that goes in there and that starts to rattle this has got a knot all the way through it, it's going to break right there. You can see your break point. So this stake I would cut off shorter, make it a 30-inch, sharpen that end. When you're doing steaks, you want to watch for them big knots because when you go to drive it, it's going to affect you too. You could break them off easy, but that one don't look too bad. We'll try this end and see if I'll break it. That's going to be inside the cone, so it won't be bad if something does happen to it. So we'll give it a couple shots. Switch is right there, on. And when I'm sharpening the steaks, I got a table here in my truck. I usually table my steaks unsharpened. They go on my truck sharpened, then I put them where I want them. So real simple. When that can't push in anymore, there you go. See how nice and clean that is? That knot didn't affect it. I thought it may, but it didn't affect it a bit. That's a good bind on that knot. There we go. Same thing with your smaller steaks when you put them in there. If you want to go to a different size, 1.5 inches. So if you wanted a 2 by 1.5 inch steak, you can use this same jig. It's not going to twist on the 2-inch way, and it's still going to center. So you would put the steak in. If it was a 2 by 1.5 inches, so you'd want your 2-inch way this way up and down because that centers your point. 1.5 inches, you'd be centered, you'd be down low, you'd be sharper, you'd have it tapered off on one side more than the other. Putting these back together, simple, slide them back in and go. Now the 1 by 1s are usually tomato steaks. The 1.5 inches, there's tomato steaks or vegetable or whatever. My 2s and 2.5s, I sell a lot of them for the contractors, for their batter boards to putting up, and for landscapers. Like this is a good landscaping steak right there because it's long, and they use these for trees when they plant the trees. And use the softwood, it rots off quick. When they come back 2 years later to pull the steaks, they usually just break them off, leave that in the ground, and go. It's a good handy tool to have around. Like I say, it's another asset of different products that we deal with to keep our customers going. They got a sawmill. You're going to get a lot of 2-inch stuff like the short stuff off of edgings. That's where I get most of my steaks from. This thing can be mounted on the legs like it is here. I like mine mounted down solid, so I put mine in my shop. I do a lot of that stuff in the wintertime. You can bolt this right down to your bench top. Built a hopper under here for all the chips to fall into, and I just roll the hopper out and empty that.
There's also holes in the feet if you want to double screw it.
You can screw it down to your floor in the wood, yes.
How long do blades last? Like time frame?
I do about 1,500 steaks in mine before I sharpen them.
Be a day?
1,500, yeah. If you can handle them that fast. I usually do them in increments of 500. You work that 8 hours, you can run that probably a week without sharpening them.
Okay. So, I think I overheard if you're going to be milling these to use on this, you don't want to go full dimension of 1 by 1
right.
or 2 by 2 or...
Just go 1/8 of an inch under or a 1/16. Because what happens is, pardon?
One side or two?
Both sides, because it's square. And when your steaks, if they're set, especially if they're outside or something, they get wet, they'll swell up, and then you won't be able to get them in there. So that's why I like them undercut. Just a whisker. 1/16 of an inch is all you need. These are exact in size, so.